Hi everyone, in this video we're going to learn about the difference between practitioner journal articles and research articles within the field of education. So some of the objectives that you'll learn from watching this video include knowing the structure and purpose for both practitioner articles and research articles. You'll understand that they serve different functions, and you'll also be able to describe some of the key differences between the two types of articles. So some key terms that you need to understand before we get into our discussion of the differences between the two. So when we talk about research, we're talking about collecting data to investigate a phenomenon, analyzing that data, and then reporting out research findings to an audience. So a practitioner is a person, and maybe you're a practitioner yourself, is a person who is a professional within a field. Of course, our field is education, so practitioners might include school administrators like principals and assistant principals, of course, teachers. Practitioners can also be instructional coaches and so forth. So anyone who's practicing within a field can be considered a practitioner. An academic, on the other hand, is a person who primarily has a responsibility for conducting research. Oftentimes an academic might be a college professor or it could be a researcher, and oftentimes academics are housed in universities. So, what are the differences between practitioner journal articles and research journal articles? There are several. So, a practitioner article, as the name suggests, is usually written for a practitioner audience. So, usually teachers and school administrators, instructional coaches are the ones who are reading practitioner articles. On the other hand, research articles are typically written for an academic audience. Practitioners do read them. In fact, I would encourage all practitioners to keep abreast of current trends in research within their field. And of course, graduate students like yourselves certainly read research articles, as you will be this summer. So practitioner articles are usually written with the purpose of helping practitioners make improvements to their practice. Like they might talk about an effective teaching method, and things like that in order to help practitioners do a better job of teaching. On the other hand, research articles are written to communicate findings of original research studies. So with practitioner articles, they often will talk about a problem or issue that is salient to the profession of education, and oftentimes the author's own experiences will inform the article. Like sometimes an article might start off with the author talking about why this problem is interesting to him or her or them. And you'll do something similar when you write your key assessment paper and you write your own practitioner journal article. You'll likely start off by talking about why the topic that you've written about has been interesting to you, what professional experiences have informed your interest in this topic. So with a research article, oftentimes the author does not address how his or her personal experiences have informed why he or she or they are studying this particular topic, but that varies. I've certainly seen research articles that do address the author's personal experiences to some extent, but that's usually not a major facet of the article. So in a practitioner article, the author will rely on scholarly sources like research articles, books, etc., in order to provide additional information that is research-based about the problem or issue or topic that is being addressed in the article. And with a research article, the authors of those will also use research to provide some context for the research question and also to provide information about existing research on similar topics. That's usually called like a literature review or an introduction, and also part of the introduction in a research article. But we're going to address how a research article is structured in a separate video because that needs a little bit more individualized attention. So practitioner articles are often short, typically 2,000 to 3,000 words, though I've seen some that are longer, up to 6,000 words. For example, a journal that I read sometimes is called The Reading Teacher, and it's a practitioner journal that is intended for literacy instructors or just anyone with an interest in literacy. And usually those articles are between 5,000 and 6,000 words. So some of them are a bit longer, but sometimes state professional organizations, for example, the Georgia Association of Literacy Advocates, I don't know that they currently have a journal, but I think they have in the past. Their articles might be somewhat shorter, for example. So research articles can definitely vary in length. Sometimes they're only 6,000 words. Sometimes they're about 10,000 words. Sometimes they're even more than that, like 12,000. So it really just depends, but they're usually much longer than a practitioner article. So practitioner articles are often written by fellow practitioners, but researchers also write them sometimes, and academics write them, I should say. And sorry, I think my camera's in the way of this bullet point here. But research articles, I mean, they can be written by practitioners doing action research in their own classroom, but oftentimes they're written by researchers, academics, as well as graduate students, especially at the doctoral level. So let's take a look at what a practitioner article actually looks like. And I'll put this example in D2L in case you're interested in looking at it. Just to be clear, this is not assigned reading. This is just FYI if you're curious. So this is an article that was published in the last month by Dr. Hani Morgan, who's a professor at the University of Southern Mississippi. And this article, as I record this video, is very timely because his article is about teaching online during a pandemic, especially remotely. So in this practitioner article, which is published in the Clearinghouse Journal, the purpose of this article is to identify best practices for remote instruction in online environments that most teachers are experiencing now. And, Dr. Morgan starts off this article by talking about the problem. Hey, we're all in this pandemic situation. We're all teaching online. And then later on in the article, he goes into some of the best practices for that teachers should implement in order to make sure that online instruction is most effective for their students. And I think that he uses the International Society for Technology and Education's guidelines in order to provide a structure. So he takes those guidelines and then he elaborates on them and explains how teachers can implement these guidelines as a form of best practice. So that's what a practitioner article can look like. Some might look a little bit different, but generally that's how they appear. They start by presenting a problem or issue and then talk about possible solutions in order to help practitioners improve their teaching practice. So if you have any questions about the differences between a practitioner article and a research article, please let me know. There is an Ask the Instructor forum in the D2L discussion board. So if you have a question, please post it there and I'll respond to you. Thanks for watching.